Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. We're gonna talk about the streaming wars. There's been a huge deal announced between Sony and Netflix, and it looks like they're cutting Disney out of the equation. This is really interesting. Sony has actually penned a deal with Netflix, not with Disney Plus, which, given that they have a lot of Spider-Man content, you would think that maybe they'd want to throw in with Disney Plus. No, they're cutting them out of the equation. And I gotta wonder, with the announcement the other day too, that they're pushing more into theme parks, is Sony sticking it to Disney because they want to compete directly with them, head to head with them? It could be. I don't know. We're going to talk about that. Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 185,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We do talk about animation, talk about comic books, talk a lot about Disney because we worked in and around the company for quite some time, and we actually do have a Disney blog at piratesandprincesses.net. We talk about all things Disney over there from a pretty objective point of view, I might add. And yeah, this is making the rounds. We didn't cover it right away. We let it sit for a day or two, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of love between Sony and Disney these days. We know there was a lot of drama surrounding the continued usage of Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man in the MCU, and they reached a last-minute deal, but we do have to wonder if they aren't trying to break away from the mouse and they're taking Spider-Man with them. This is coming from Cartoon Brew. We're going to talk about that article. We're going to look at the Wall Street Journal and try to make sense of what's going on here. Sony's got to do what they got to do for their bottom line. Now, the interesting thing about this is that they sold Crackle. They actually had a streaming service of their own, and now they have a little bit of a stake in it, I guess, but they sold it off to Chicken Soup for the Soul or something, and now they're doing Nintendo documentaries on what used to be the Sony platform, and they're advertising PS5 on it. So I don't know what Sony's doing these days. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about PlayStation in here too, because it's just all up in the air. Coming from Cartoon Brew, Spider-Verse sequel among Sony titles set to come to Netflix after theaters. Netflix and Sony Pictures have cemented their growing ties with a major licensing deal. Under the terms, the streaming titan has exclusive U.S. rights to stream Sony's theatrical releases in the first pay TV window. This means the studio's films can come to Netflix after theatrical and home entertainment windows. The pact, which begins in 2022, will cover live-action tentpoles like Morbius, Uncharted, Bullet Train, and the hotly anticipated sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and other Marvel content, not on Disney Plus first. Netflix also has a first-look agreement covering all of Sony's original direct-to-streaming movies and has committed to a certain number of those titles. Sony can sell titles Netflix turns down to other streamers, right? So they have a first-look deal. If they pass on it, they can go to HBO, they can go to Disney Plus, whoever's going to buy it. In addition, Netflix will license older films from the studio's library. The deal was reported to be worth over $1 billion by the Wall Street Journal and due to last 5 years. So Sony's previous pay TV partner for live action was Starz, except for Sony Pictures Animation, which had a deal with Netflix that dated back to 2014. In recent months, 2 forthcoming SPA titles have been unveiled as Netflix exclusives in the US. The Chinese co-production Wish Dragon and The Mitchells versus the Machines, which actually I saw the trailer for that. It doesn't look terrible. It actually doesn't look terrible. Alone among the major studios, Sony does not have its own mass market streaming platform to rival Netflix. They had one. They had Crackle, and they got rid of it. They had Crackle, they got rid of it. They have Funimation, and they're trying to buy Crunchyroll, but that's just anime. So something's going on here. So Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, and Disney are increasingly sending content to HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and Disney Plus, respectively. Sony is throwing in its lot with Netflix itself. Everybody's trying to build a Netflix competitor, and it sounds like Sony's like, well, we know we can't beat them, so let's just join them. But yeah, they kind of stuck it to Disney, didn't they? Because you would think that the Spider-Man stuff would come to Disney Plus first, but that's not the deal. That is not the deal. So it originated, this story from the Wall Street Journal where they said getting access to the Marvel titles was a key incentive for Netflix, which is no longer getting fresh Marvel content from Walt Disney. Those movies and TV shows moved to Disney Plus. So Netflix's need for acquired content is growing fast as it faces greater competition. So now it's become like a content war, right? Everybody's trying to line up their own content for their own services. The problem is everything's become piecemeal. It used to be that Netflix was kind of the catch-all bucket. Everybody just kind of went to Netflix, and now everybody's starting their own streaming services. They're all competing with each other, but they've only got their own content. So for Sony to throw in with Netflix, to sell off Crackle and throw in with Netflix is kind of a big deal, but they might have looked at the long term and been like, we're not going to be able to become another Netflix. Why are we gonna chase this? Just put the stuff on Netflix, and let's not try to be a competitor, because I think a lot of these smaller streamers like Paramount Plus and Peacock and all this stuff, I think they're going to wind up consolidating or going under. There's too many of them. There's way too many of them. I think Disney's going to be around. I think Netflix is going to be around. Amazon, obviously, Hulu, maybe HBO Max definitely I think will be around, but everybody else, I don't know. I think it's all up in the air. Definitely. So this is a pretty interesting development here. Now, there's this other component too, and we talked about this the other day, that Sony is looking at getting into the theme park business. So it's possible that Netflix was the only thing that really made sense for them, the only place that made sense for them. If they didn't want to be a streamer, they couldn't really go to Peacock, which is owned by Universal, and they couldn't really go to Disney, obviously Disney Plus owned by Disney, because, they might look at like, well, this is a conflict of interest. You guys just made this huge announcement that you're going to push into theme parks and you're going to compete directly with us. Hell no. It'd be a very uncomfortable situation for them. That might be playing into this, because if Sony plans on competing with Disney or Universal directly, I wouldn't want them parking their content on my platform. I don't know. But it's really interesting that they're going this route with their live action stuff. But when it comes to anime, they're willing to drop $1 billion on Crunchyroll. And we don't even know if that's going to go through yet, because the Department of Justice has to look and see if it, can, because of antitrust stuff. So there's that too. So, we don't know what's going on, but they got to do something for sure, because, the PlayStation's not doing nearly as well. PlayStation 5 is not doing nearly as well as they had hoped. Anime seems to be it right now. They're making tons of money off of Demon Slayer and all this other stuff. But again, that's a very niche kind of a thing. They're willing to spend money on that. They just don't want to be bothered with having yet another live action streaming platform of their own, Sony Plus or whatever. And they did sell off Crackle. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how this, if this has any impact on their plans with Disney. I don't expect them to renew their Spider-Man agreement after this agreement's up. I think they're already trying to build up the multiverse so they can just, kind of go back and be like, oh, this is a different Spider-Man in a different universe, has no ties to the MCU, and that is that for sure. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.